Good morning, children. Now, we are going to study about the physical features of Brazil in this revision. Okay, so we've already studied with the physical features of India. Let's move over to the physical features of Brazil. Now, under the physical features, we are going to study about the main physical divisions here, which includes the highlands. Okay, then we have the escarpment. Okay, now we have the escarpment here, we have the highlands, then we have the plains, okay, formed by the river Amazon, the Parana Paraguay rivers. Then we have the coastal plains and also the islands. So the islands include the coastal islands as well as the marine islands. Now, if you look into the map of Brazil, you'll find Brazil is mainly occupied by highlands, plateaus, and small mountains. Okay, so look at this physical divisions here. Okay, so if you look at these, you'll find the most of Brazil is occupied by, you have the highlands here, okay, then you have the plateaus, small mountains, and you find the maximum height, okay, is most of the highlands, the maximum height here is 1000, okay, then that's the Brazilian highlands, and others you find other hills and mountain ranges, plateaus at the maximum will have just a height between say 500 to 1000 meters. The highest peak here in Brazil is Pico de Neblina, about 3114 meters, which is at the border, okay, between Venezuela and Brazil. Okay, then we have the Guiana Highlands to the north. Okay, then the Brazilian highlands towards the southeast. Okay, then principal rivers here are the Amazon River, okay, which together with its tributaries opens into the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, then on the eastern side, Sao Francisco is the only, a long, only major river here. Okay, then we have the escarpment. Okay, the escarpment, the maximum height attained by this is 790 meters, but it is important from the point of view because of the its importance on the climate of Brazil. Okay, then we have the coastal plains. The coastal plains, when you compare it with India, are not too wide. Okay. At the same time, when you look at the mountains also, unlike the Himalayas, we have no long extending mountains here in Brazil. Okay. So let's move over to the physical features here. Now, most of Brazil is occupied by highlands, plateaus, and small mountains, and we do not have high and long extending mountains. Okay, so like in India, the plains here are not very wide except for the Amazon basin, okay, which is towards the northeast of Brazil and the Paraguay basin. Then coastal plains also are quite narrow. The physiographic divisions of Brazil can be studied under the headings, that is the highlands, the Great Escarpment, the coastal region, the plain, and the island groups. Now we come to the highlands. Okay, the southern part of Brazil is occupied by an extensive plateau which is known as the Brazilian highland. Okay, then the Brazilian highland together with the Guyana highland form the core of the South American continent. So let's go back to the map here. You'll find, okay, the Brazilian highland here, and Guyana Highlands. So Guyana Highlands and Brazilian Highlands form the core of the South American, okay, continent. Then, if you had looked into the Guyana Highlands, you'll find that, okay, it extends into Venezuela and extends up to even the French Guiana. The lower part of these highlands is found in Brazil. So you find the lower part of Guyana Highlands extends into Brazil. So this is the Guyana Highlands. The Guyana Highlands can be seen extending even to French Guiana. The lower part is in of the Guyana Highlands is in Brazil. Okay, so this is Pico de Neblina, which is at the border of Brazil and Venezuela. Now, the highest point here in Brazil is Pico de Neblina, about 3,014 meters, and it is on the border between Brazil and Venezuela. On the east of Brazilian highlands, the altitude is 1,000 meters, but in other parts it is between 500 to 1,000 meters. So you find the maximum altitude attained along the Brazilian highlands is just about 1,000 meters. Okay, and the Brazilian highland slopes towards the north. Okay, so look at this. This is the Brazilian highlands and it slopes towards the north. So we find many of the tributaries of the Amazon, okay, as well as Amazon River flows through this region, and it has formed many rapids and waterfalls. Apart from this, there are many rivers which have their origin in the Brazilian highlands, okay, and they flow into the North Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so the Brazilian highland slopes towards the north, and we find many of the tributaries of the Amazon River make rapids and waterfalls. So all of you know how waterfalls are formed. Okay, so when a river falls down from a great height, say from a mountain or even a highland, a waterfall is formed. Okay, apart from this, we find there are also many rivers which originate from the terminal portion of the highland, and they flow northwards into the Atlantic Ocean. The next important physical feature that we are going to deal with is the Great Escarpment. Okay, so now the slope of the Brazilian highland is rather steep towards the eastern side. Okay, and it forms an escarpment that is almost very, very steep, and it looks almost like a cliff. Okay, but we find this is rather a very small area, but we find it has a great importance on the climate of Brazil. Now, its height is not very much, that is, it's just about 790 meters, and it is particularly steep from Sao Paulo to Porto Alegre. Okay, now I'll just tell you. See, this is the Great Escarpment, and you find it is rather steep. The Brazilian highlands is rather steep on the eastern side, and it forms a Great Escarpment. Okay, so its maximum height is 790 meters. Though its area is very small, it has a great influence on the climate of Brazil. That is, the southeast trade winds, which bring rainfall to Brazil, give copious rainfall to the eastern part of Brazil. And by the time it moves over to the northern part, it has become almost moistureless. So the northern part of the Brazilian highlands, okay, or rather we can say the Great Escarpment, is known as the drought quadrilateral. Okay, so we find The escarpment acts as a barrier to the southeast trade winds, which gives copious rainfall to the southeastern part of Brazil, with the result that the northeast part of Brazil becomes a rain shadow region, and this region is called the drought quadrilateral. Okay, next is the coast. Like India, Brazil has a long and extensive coastline of about 7,400 kilometers, and it can be divided into the northern and the eastern coast. Okay, so if you look at this physical feature, we find this is the coast of Brazil. We can divide it into the northern coast, okay, as well as the eastern coast. Okay, so now we have this island here, which is formed as a result of deposition of alluvium. That's a coastal island there. Okay, now, so in the north, it extends from Amapá province to Rio de Grande Norte in the east, and this is the North Atlantic coast characterized by the mouths of many rivers, including the Amazon. So, towards the northern part of Brazil, we find many rivers, including the Amazon, open up into the North Atlantic Ocean. Okay, and I think while taking this lesson, I would have told you that Amazon River doesn't form a delta, unlike many of the rivers that we have studied. Okay, so this opens into the mouth of the North Atlantic Ocean. Okay, but it doesn't form a delta. Okay, then along the northern part of the of Brazil, we find we have a large coastal island, and this is located between the mouths of the river Amazon and Tocantins. Okay, then on the eastern coast we have, okay, so this is the eastern coast of Brazil, and along the eastern coast we have many small rivers. The the only river which flows across the entire length of Brazil is the São Francisco River, which opens into the Atlantic Ocean. Then, apart from this, we have Brazil is also known for its beaches, atolls, reefs, okay, sand dunes, etc. Okay, so along the eastern coast, as I said, we have a principal river, that's the São Francisco River, which meets the Atlantic Ocean. And Brazil is famous for its beaches, sand dunes, reefs, and atolls. Then, what about the plains? Okay, now under the plains, we are going to study about the Amazon, the plain formed by the Amazon River, as well as the Paraguay River Basin. So in Brazil, you find the biggest and the largest plain is formed by the Amazon River, and it rises in the Andes. The Amazon River rises in the Andes, okay, and as it moves towards the east, okay, it becomes narrower, okay, though along the west we find it is wide. Towards the east it becomes narrow, and as it opens into the Atlantic Ocean, you find the width again becomes more. Okay, and another important thing that you'll have to remember is the Amazon plain is very dense, okay, because of the lot of or heavy rainfall that this region gets. We have dense tropical forests, and this region has become very inaccessible, okay, because of the equatorial rainfall that it receives practically every evening, and also this results in frequent flooding. Okay, now apart from the Amazon plain, Along the southwestern part of the Brazilian highlands, we have two plains formed by the river Parana and Paraguay rivers, which rise from the southern as well as the southwestern part of the Brazilian highlands. Okay, then towards the southwestern part of the Brazilian highlands, can you see here? There's the Brazilian highlands. We have the largest swampland, or we can say the wetland in the world, which is known as the Pantanal. Okay. Now, the Pantanal is the largest wetland in the world, and it's very rich in its flora and fauna. Okay, then there's a region of swamps and marshes in the region of Mato Grosso do Sul, and this extends even into Argentina. Then let us talk about islands. As in India, here also we have two types of islands. We have the coastal islands, which are found along the coastal regions, and the marine islands. Now, most of the coastal islands we find are formed due to deposition of alluvium. Okay, as we have the Marajo Island, which is formed as a result of deposition of alluvium. Then, apart from this, we have also marine islands, and marine islands will be found, further away from the mainland. And here you find it is about 300 kilometers away in the Atlantic Ocean. Most of the marine islands are usually rocky, and these are submerged peaks of mountains. Okay, then near South Atlantic Ocean, apart from that, we also have coral islands, and these coral islands are called atolls. Okay, so children, we have finished with the physical features of Brazil. So we have studied the Brazilian highlands, then we have studied about the Great Escarpment, the plains of the formed by the river Amazon, as well as the Parana and the Paraguay rivers, as well as the coastal plains and the islands. Okay, so let us do a small activity here. Okay, now the first one, Brazil is covered mainly by, we have four options here. You're going to choose the correct answer. Okay, so Brazil is covered mainly by highlands, plains, mountainous region, and dissected hills. So the correct answer is highlands. The second one, the Great Escarpment gives rise to the rain shadow region and the northeastern part of, is the Andes Mountain, the Brazilian highland, Guyana highland, or the Amazon basin. So, where is the rain shadow region? It's in the northeastern part of the Brazilian highland. So, your answer is Brazilian highland. The third one, the Amazon basin is mainly characterized by droughts, filled by swamps, covered by dense forests, or is fertile. So what's the correct answer? It is covered by dense forests. So the answer is the Amazon basin is mainly covered by dense forests. Okay, so children, we have finished with the second part of this Brazil. Okay, so I want you to write this in your notebooks. We'll continue with this lesson in the next session. Till then, thank you, children.